Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is No Chefs here. Today's episode is 蘑菇鸡片, or as you can see it in the many westernized Chinese restaurants, is Goo Gai Pan. Goo Gai Pan, my understanding, is the Cantonese pronunciation. I'm sorry I don't speak Cantonese at all. To me, Mandarin Chinese is hard enough. In my research, what makes this dish westernized is that there are more vegetables added to it. Well, if you ask me, more vegetables is more flavor, more texture. I'm all for it. Don't worry if this is not something traditional or authentic. It's going to be something you cook at home. Most of all, you put your time, your attention to it, and it's going to be very rewarding, I promise. Without further delay, let's get started. So here's everything that I'm going to be using for this dish. As for vegetables, I've got shiitake mushrooms, the snow peas, got a little bit of carrot, ginger, garlic, one green onion. This is a bamboo shoot out of a can. It looks like this, not cut, but I know that in some supermarkets you can get already sliced. Have just a little bit of sliced chestnut. Cornstarch, there are 2 tablespoons here. I'll use 1 tablespoon for chicken marinade and another tablespoon reserve for thickening at the end of the entire dish. Here I have 4 cups of warm water. Continue watching, I'll show you why for and how I'm going to distribute this. But you can use 1.5 cups of chicken broth. My chicken broth is going to be made out of 1.5 cups of water and this chicken powder. If you look at this, it has plenty of sodium already. So notice, no soy sauce, no salt is needed here for me. But if you are using store-bought chicken broth, pay attention to the sodium. You may or may not need some salt. Of course, you cook what makes you happy. But in this dish, soy sauce is not used. Shaoxing cooking wine. I have this vegetable oil, but you can just use any oil with no flavor. And there's a beautiful 1 chicken breast, boneless, skinless. Of course, if you prefer chicken thigh, you can use that. Let me talk about the proportions that I like to use. I'm a much more visual cook than numerical. So the main 2 ingredients are chicken and mushrooms for this dish, right? So if you take a look, I chose mushroom amount to kind of represent the chicken breast size. All these other ingredients are there for the texture, for the color, you know, so it is really totally up to you. So let's first prepare the chicken. Take a look to understand where the grains are. They run this way. In order to make it more tender, should cut against the grain this way. Of course, this is going to be one long piece, so I'm going to cut this way first and then against the grain. And now try to cut. Try to cut as thinly as possible. So now let's marinate the chicken. Shaoxing cooking wine. This 1 cup is about 3/4 of a tablespoon. Tablespoon of cornstarch. Mix very well until all cornstarch is distributed. Cornstarch is a great tenderizer, okay? But also it will create some protective film on the chicken so that all the flavors are going to stay within the meat as well as keep it moist. Now I'm going to use a drizzle of sesame oil. Sorry, I forgot to mention this in the all ingredients, but I did mention the regular oil. You could definitely use a regular oil too. This is just to make sure that the chicken doesn't stick to each other when you cook. And also, please add oil at the end, because if you add oil in the beginning before the cornstarch, the oil will create a coating on the chicken and the cornstarch is probably not going to stick that well. Now you can just leave it to marinate. Doesn't have to be long, just while I'm preparing vegetables is enough time in my opinion. So wash the board and knife very well. I did that off camera. I also have one side of the board that I will use for vegetables and the other side is for meat. I like to keep it separate. Save this pretty green part for garnish. Let's go like that. Outer layer I'd like to remove. It's a little dry. The garlic, pretty easy way to peel is just smash. This way you can just remove this paper easily. Ginger, just peel this off. This carrot is already peeled. Try to find, always with vegetables in general, try to find like a flat surface you can work with to be more stable. I think this is much better than this way. Bamboo shoot. It's pretty easy to cut, but I changed my mind about thickness. I want thinner. This garnish situation, just thinly slice. Alright, we're ready to cook. I got my wok, high heat. Get ready with your water. First cup of water is going in. When it comes to boil, go in with the bamboo shoots, the water chestnuts. Blanch them for about 30 seconds or so. This is just to get rid of that, preserved can taste. I think it helps. Just take them out of the water into a plate. Now this water we will discard because that's the flavor we don't want. 1 cup and a half. Now that it's boiling, first carrot, because it's harder vegetable, goes right in. Give that like 30 seconds. Blanching the carrot too gives it a nice color. Really going to make it pretty. Mushrooms. These basically until they're done. These mushrooms, believe it or not, are done and have really good texture. That altogether took just about a minute. Lastly, with snow peas, just to wake up the color again, maybe 30 seconds maximum. Look how gorgeous the color is of the carrot and the snow peas when you blanch the vegetables like that. It is awesome. Now, if you are like me and you don't use store-bought chicken stock and you don't have your own and can use chicken powder, you might say that this water would be very delicious to use for the chicken stock and the sauce, but I don't recommend it because if mushrooms are a little bit dirty or something, those particles are going to be here. Just go ahead and discard it. Clean wok, back on high heat. A tablespoon, no flavor oil. Oil nice and hot. Ginger, garlic, onion. Make sure nothing burns. Chicken right away. Once the chicken is no longer pink, remaining cup and a half of water. Make sure that it's hot. That is a lot of broth, I understand, but it's supposed to be saucy, Chicken powder. Per instructions, it's a teaspoon per cup, so 1.5. Now that the chicken is done, return all the vegetables and give it a nice mix. It looks beautiful already. Now we're ready to thicken this. Go ahead and turn off the heat. Cornstarch solution, 1:1 water to cornstarch. I'm gonna do this off the heat. Can you see how it thickened up a little bit? You can adjust. So now you can check out the sauce thickness. And if you are satisfied, then you're done. I'm super excited to give this a try. Chicken is so tender. With bamboo shoot. This dish is naturally flavorful, and it's got so much texture. It is texture party in your mouth. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you make something like this, please tag me on Instagram or here on YouTube. Until next time, I wish you nothing but the best.